So our main story tonight concerns a man whose name has become shorthand for the worst conspiracy theories on the internet. A man who somehow remains unavoidable no matter how many times you think you've escaped him. Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, the disgraced financier/sex trafficker who has been dead for years and yet continues to haunt headlines like an unwanted reboot of a sitcom nobody liked in the first place. Epstein is like the Full House of scandals. Nobody asked for the sequel, and yet here it is in perpetuity. Now, Epstein's name resurfaced again this week in newly unsealed court documents, and once more everyone online dusted off their magnifying glasses, shouted, "Gotcha," and then immediately contradicted themselves 10 seconds later. Social media is now basically a 24-hour conspiracy buffet. You want politicians involved? Done. You want celebrities dragged in with flimsy evidence? Also done. You want a story where somehow both Tom Hanks and a moon mammoth are in on it? That too, apparently. And look, let's acknowledge something uncomfortable here. Epstein was horrifying. His crimes weren't just salacious gossip. They were systematic abuse involving some of the most powerful figures in the world. The public fascination makes sense, but what doesn't make sense is the fever dream level of theories that come attached. Every time Epstein's name is trending, it becomes an accidental audition for the next season of X-Files, and everyone on the internet thinks they're the star. But before we get completely lost in that particular swamp of madness, let's pivot to something that is arguably more grounded in reality, but still somehow dystopian: gang databases. Yes, cities across America maintain official lists of suspected gang members, often without those listed ever being told. Think of it like a celebrity no-fly list, but instead of banning you from private jets, it ruins your entire life. These databases are supposedly about keeping communities safe, but the way they're compiled is about as scientific as me deciding who's in a boy band. The kid wears red sneakers? Gang member. A teenager poses with friends flashing peace signs? Clearly a gang lord. Somebody posts a rap lyric on Instagram? Oh, definitely a criminal mastermind. It's absurd. One report in Chicago found that their gang database was so riddled with errors it basically listed half the city. Which is actually kind of efficient if you think about it. Why waste time trying to be precise when you can just accuse everyone of being guilty? And who oversees these things? Nobody. They're about as transparent as celebrity skincare routines. You know how every celebrity claims they just drink lots of water and that's why their skin looks flawless? Yeah, no. We know it's fillers, lasers, and probably some ancient vampire blood. Similarly, gang databases are built on secrecy, false claims, and racial profiling. Police departments swear they're a necessary tool, but in reality they're just a weaponized rumor mill with the power of the state behind it. Now, speaking of things that sound like state-sponsored fever dreams, let's talk about moon mammoths. Yes, scientists have been seriously floating the idea of resurrecting woolly mammoths and possibly launching them into space habitats as part of a long-term plan for biodiversity. That's right, not only are we trying to bring back an extinct species, we're trying to make it the Neil Armstrong of the animal kingdom. On one hand, it's kind of inspiring. Humanity is finally reaching the point where let's put a mammoth on the moon sounds like a rational scientific proposal instead of the ravings of a drunk uncle at Thanksgiving. On the other hand, do we really need to give Elon Musk another reason to host a weird press conference? You just know he's already sketching out a plan for a lunar mammoth Tesla transport system called Muscadon. And look, if the mammoths actually go to the moon, do you honestly believe humans won't immediately start a reality TV show about it? Real Mammoths of Lunar County practically writes itself. But here's the through line connecting all three of tonight's topics. Power. There is Epstein's network of powerful people shielding him for years, police departments wielding unaccountable power through gang databases, or scientists wielding the godlike power to resurrect Ice Age megafauna. The story is really about who gets to decide what happens and who suffers the consequences. With Epstein, the powerful got away with everything until the very end, and even now the fallout seems more like tabloid fodder than justice. With gang databases, communities of color are surveilled and punished by an invisible system they can't fight. And with mammoths, well, I guess the mammoths suffer because they never asked to be resurrected, much less launched into orbit. Imagine waking up after thousands of years and the first thing you see is Jeff Bezos waving at you from his rocket. That's not science, that's punishment. But let's step back for a moment. Why are these stories getting lumped together in the first place? Because they're all absurd in their own way. Epstein is a tragic horror story that has morphed into a conspiracy circus. Gang databases are supposedly cutting-edge policing, but are really just racist spreadsheets. And moon mammoths, while genuinely fascinating science, are also the perfect metaphor for our tendency to chase spectacle instead of solving actual problems. Like we can't fix climate change, but sure, let's bring back woolly mammoths. That'll help. And this brings us to a bigger question. What do we, the public, actually pay attention to? Because if you scroll through celebrity news or gossip headlines, it's hard not to notice how these serious issues get filtered through the same lens as Kardashian drama or Taylor Swift Easter eggs. Did a court file reveal corruption? That's yesterday's headline. Did a celebrity unfollow another on Instagram? Now that gets breaking coverage. In fact, some outlets literally framed the Epstein documents as celebrity name drops, as though it were the Met Gala seating chart instead of evidence from a criminal case. The truth is, we live in a world where scandal sells, conspiracy clicks, and spectacle rules. Epstein becomes gossip. Gang databases get ignored because they're not sexy enough for headlines. And mammoths get the front page because, let's be honest, they're fluffy and weird and vaguely nostalgic. Humanity has essentially become one giant celebrity news consumer, and the people in power know how to use that to their advantage. So what do we do? Honestly, I don't have a neat answer, but at the very least, we can start by not treating every single story like it's part of the same gossip column. Epstein isn't a meme. Gang databases aren't a quirky bureaucratic detail, and mammoths aren't just a punchline. They're living proof that scientists would rather play God than fix potholes. And maybe, just maybe, we should redirect our attention away from conspiracy fantasies and viral fluff toward demanding actual accountability. Because whether it's billionaires, police departments, or scientists with Jurassic Park ambitions, unchecked power is a problem. And unfortunately, that's not a problem you can solve by putting a mammoth on the moon. But here's the thing, they're probably going to do it anyway. Because humanity never met a bad idea, it couldn't launch into space. So when the first lunar mammoth steps onto the surface of the moon, let's at least have the decency to say this is one small step for mammoth, one giant leap for mankind's inability to focus on the real problems.